What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Goshen's Games. Welcome back to another Sword Art Online Alicization Rising Steel video. And here is the moment that a lot of you guys have been waiting for. A lot of you guys have been asking me for. And I am very stubborn about this because I'm not a big fan of tier lists when it comes to this game. And it pains me to even do this. But I worked with Nige, Nigeru over in the Reddit, as well as the Rising Steel Discord. He's also in my Discord. I worked with him to try and put a different tier list together. I think one that's a little bit more comprehensive, because all the other tier lists that have been going around, the biggest reason why I don't agree with them is because they look at those characters as specific cases. Like, in some of their lists, the reason why they're in a certain tier is only because they put it in best case scenario, where I look at it as each individual unit, what can they bring to the table? Are they useful in any team, as opposed to just one specific team, one specific set. So that's what I'm doing here. That's what me and Nige have done here. I gave him my input. I asked for his input, and this is the list that we had come up with. Now, this is pretty much my list. I want to make that clear that this is pretty much my list because it's going to differ in some cases as opposed to some other lists. So let's go ahead. Let's take a look at this. I'll break it down and explain why I feel the way I do with some of these characters. So first things first, we're going to go with the S rank, which has the version 2 of Stacia Asana, as well as the new Terraria Lifa. Alright, so the reason why they're up there is because they are very strong characters, just in general, as far as how much damage they do overall, and the overall usefulness of those characters for your teams. They both raise critical damage on your units. The Lifa is nice because the way that she works is she can bring more to the table, not with just raising the critical damage. Sorry about that. Had to put a pause for a second. So the way that she works is, for her enhance, she also raises attack of all allies by 15% for 3 turns, and it has a short wait time, which makes her extremely viable for pretty much any fight, as well as her charge lowering physical resistance on the enemy. So it makes her very, very strong. Plus the fact that her incarnate heals for a really solid amount when she's powered up. So for example, mine is maximum broken. Mine heals for, on average, about 4,000 to 4,500. So 4,000 to 4,500 is how much she's healing for on average per character. So it makes her really, really solid to use in any situation. The version 2 Stacia Asana, like I said, she also raises critical damage. That's on her assault skill of all allies. She lowers magic resistance on her charge. Her heal is, in my opinion, her heal's weak. You don't use her for healing. You know, her heal is it's a weak heal, and it raises magic resistance by 20% for 3 turns. Now, if you're stunned, that's where she can become useful because she removes stun. Her incarnate lowers magic resistance by 10% for 1 turn. So she's a really, really solid unit, mainly because of the straight up damage that she can put out, as well as the critical damage that she does, or that she can raise up. Now, going to the A rank, unfortunately, I have to take other people's word for most of the A rank, because I don't have 3 of these 5 units. I have Solus Sinon and I have Finacio. Both are really solid, so I will talk about them really quick. Solus Sinon, she's a type of unit. She works well because of her AoE. Her speed is decent. It's not too bad. And her charge raises her own critical rate. Her third skill which you don't use too much of, but if you can find a proper situation for it, it raises her attack by 20% and increases her evasion by 20% for 3 turns. So it's actually really useful for those fights that you can get multiple turns on before the boss shows up. So that's the type of situation where she's actually pretty decent to use. Her incarnate attack, being an AoE attack, is great, and she also lowers physical resistance on the enemy for 1 turn. Fanasio, I like Fanasio more because Fanasio on her charge has I want to say damage over time. It's they don't call it damage over time in this game though. Continuous damage. Her charge does continuous damage for 3 turns as opposed to 2 turns, which you see a lot on different units, which makes her very, very viable because it's for 3 turns. Her assault skill lowers physical resistance by 20%, and her second assault skill is an AoE attack that lowers attack by 10%. Her incarnate attack is an AoE incarnate attack, and it does continuous damage for 3 turns. So in this type of, I hate to say this word, in this type of meta where all the units are starting to release with that continuous damage buff, where if the enemy has continuous damage on them, they do the units will either do more damage, break for more, or charge for more. She is a very, very useful character to have in a lot of different fights, which is one of the reasons why she goes as high as she does on that list. Alright, now if we're going to the B rank, and this one kind of hurt me a little bit to put some of these units on the B rank. For example, the broccoli that's there, which is one of the newer units, the reason why I put him there is because while he does hit monstrously hard, his counter is pretty much useless because his counter is relegated to being used on only non-elemental fights and only on physical attacks. Okay, so, and on top of that, they have to hit broccoli. If they don't hit broccoli, so if they don't hit him, it's not a physical attack and it's not a non-elemental attack, then the counter doesn't work. On top of that, the counter only does it for 1 turn. It's based off of broccoli's turn, so that sucks as well, because if as soon as he goes, then his counter is gone. His incarnate attack is a really strong attack. Like he does, again, monstrous damage, and he'll deal additional damage on enemies that are inflicted with continuous damage. But because it doesn't do anything else, it's kind of lackluster. Like if his incarnate put a better counter, for example, like a counter that lasts for 2 turns, that would be really useful, but he doesn't do that. His charge is actually pretty useful. He lowers physical resistance by 20%, which is nice, and his assault actually breaks for a pretty decent amount. So his assault breaks for 25%, which makes him very useful as well. That's why I have him on B, because his one gimmick just doesn't work so well for him. Plus, he's a little bit on the slower end. That Kirito that you see there, so the smiling Kirito, whatever it is, I forget. The staring Kirito, I'm sorry. He's there because he's a pretty lackluster character. He has Sharpness Roar, which raises the attack of allies by 20% for 2 turns. There's better characters who do that. There are faster characters who do that. His assault is a slash attack, extra strong on single enemy. That's it. Doesn't do anything else. His charge is a charge AoE attack. Okay, that's fine, I guess. And then his incarnate is an incarnate slash on all enemies. That's it. Nothing else. No bonuses. No extra damage. Nothing. That's it. Just very straightforward. He's a pretty lackluster character, to be honest with you. What he has going for him is the fact that he has AoE damage, and that's pretty much it. He's slow, and I would pick a lot of other units to fight instead of him. Tisei. I don't have this Tisei. I wanted the Tisei, but I don't have her. Same thing with some of the other units there. That second Alice character that's there, the twins, the Lisbeth, the Asuna. I don't have them. I have to go off of what other people say. So I'm just giving my opinion on the characters that I have and that I've used. C list. Okay. This one's a little controversial just because of Yuna. I've seen tier lists that have Yuna at a higher tier. Like I've seen people putting her at the A rank, and here's why for me she's a C rank. She only works for dark allies. That's it. Okay, her gimmicks are healing on her charge, which she does continuous heal on your allies for 1 turn. And while that's fine because it's a decent heal, the problem is that it's only Dark Elemental. So you can't use her for any other fight to heal. Her Incarnate attack heals 25% of all allies. That's, again, a little bit lackluster because you're talking about 25%. Let's say a unit has 10,000 HP, 25%, you're talking about 2,500 HP. On most characters, she's not going to be healing for that. She's going to be healing for like 1,500 or anywhere between 1,500 to 2,000. It's not a good heal. It's like when you take that into consideration for like the Terraria Leafa that we talked about, where Terraria Leafa will heal for anywhere between 4,000 to 4,500. That heal on Yuna is not gonna do anything for you. All right, she has an AoE attack on her assault, which is decent, and then her enhance, which is protect and anti-protect yell, which lowers physical resistance of all enemies for 15% by 2 turns and raises physical resistance of all allies by 15% by 2 turns. That's pretty decent, but the fact of the matter is that there are much better dark characters to use as opposed to her. Okay. Next, the Gto Keto. He's just lackluster. I'm sorry. I have him. I just recently pulled him. I don't use him. He's just not good for me. It's really not. Where do I even have him on my list? Seriously, where is he? There he is. Okay, so going to look at him. Incarnate slash attack on single enemy. All right. His charge attack slash attack medium on a single enemy. It would be nice if it was strong. I don't know if it gets upgraded or not. Maybe it does. I don't know. I only have him at level 80. Slash attack for his assault. Slash attack extra strong on single enemy. Incarnate break 25%. That's decent. And then Optics Barrier raises magic resistance of all allies by 20% for 3 turns. Let's be honest. You're never gonna use that. You're never really gonna use it. All right. And then Eldri. Eldri, in my opinion, is one of the characters that needs the most work. He is just an utter mess. Okay? If I made a D tier, he would be in the D tier. Like, he's just a utter mess. He's a charger that doesn't get, like, bonus charge. Like, for example, Yu-Gi-Oh! And the OG character is not on this list, and I'll explain that in a minute. But for example, Yu-Gi-Oh! Does better charge attacks than Eldri because Yu-Gi-Oh! Gets bonus charge when you're using it against a fire character. Eldri doesn't have that. Okay, instead Eldri gets bonus break on his assault. He's a very, very weird character. Very weird. Increases break versus fire elementals by 20%. I don't know why they decided to do that, but that's what they did. It's a very weird. He needs help. Eldri, you need help, man. Okay, so his first assault skill is an AoE attack, which is nice. His charge is an AoE attack, which is decent. But I'll tell you what's wrong with him in a second. And his third assault skill, which is probably the more useful one, is a single target strong. Should have been extra strong. And it lowers physical resistance by 20% for 1 turn. Okay, his charge is a magic attack. And both his assaults are physical attacks. His incarnate is a physical attack. It's an AoE physical attack. Why is that a problem? Well, the problem is that his charge is a magic attack and he's not a magic user. Like when I say he's not a magic user, his attack stat is much higher than his magic attack. His magic attack stat is actually really low. Plus, he's super slow. Like when you got 3-star characters who are so much faster than you, you got a problem, dude. You got a massive problem. Okay? To give you an example, you have Silica 3-star who's faster than him. You have Asuna 3-star who's faster. You have Selka 3-star who's faster. You have Argo who's faster. And then you have the free-to-play 4-stars who are much, much faster than him. He is just such a lackluster character that needs a lot of work, and until he gets that, he's not going to be bumped up at all. So now, as far as the AoE units go, okay, as far as not AoE, I'm sorry, as far as the OG units, the reason why the OG units are not included on this list, as of recording this video, they will be getting a buff. I did not want to include them until they get a buff, and then we will go ahead and redo the tier list. But you guys have been bothering me so much on this tier list, and like, I saw a tier list that absolutely triggered me, so I needed to do this. It had to happen, so we did it. Here it is. This is my charging tier list, and we will follow up with a break tier list. I hope you guys appreciate this. Big shout out to Nigeru. And thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you guys are new. Follow me over on Twitch for other live streams. I'll see all of you guys later. Stay cool, guys.